Like most self-taught artists, I have refused to actually learn anatomy for the past 9 years. I have practiced and I have done gesture drawings, but have I actually sat down and learned the human body? No. 15-year-old Abby decided that drawing and learning anatomy was boring and that she'd much rather be drawing fan art than actually learning the rules of art and getting better as an artist. So 25-year-old Abby is currently suffering for that. But today that all changes because we're going to be embarking on a journey to learn anatomy. In fact, I have set myself a goal because I felt like I needed one in order to do this. Because let's face it, learning anatomy isn't the most fun thing ever. It's kind of boring in terms of art, at least to me anyway. I have decided to see how much I can transform my artwork within 48 hours in order to better myself as an artist. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. I decided to look through my old art books. I thought maybe these would help me for this challenge. First of all, we're starting with this one. I asked my mum for this book one Christmas and I never used it, like ever, not once. I've never even really looked into it, even though I asked for this. But it really breaks down every limb in the human body and like deconstructs it and teaches you like even like down to like the skeletal structure of things. So I figured this might come in handy. My second one is this, A Beginner's Guide to Fantasy Drawing. So this one, I again never really used that much, but I did use it more than this one. I never used it for anatomy though, and again, it does go into anatomy in some areas, different body shapes, again, like how they approach drawing the body, what kind of shapes they use. So I figured that would be helpful. I think the first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to start with some gesture drawings. Gesture, not jester. And I'm basically going to do what every artist does when they need references. I'm going on Pinterest. That's where we're headed. I feel like this one's a pretty simple one to start with, so let's start with that. I feel like I don't want to do this, but I know I should. I should start with pen so I'm not just rubbing out constantly. If I make the mistakes and it doesn't look good, then we just move on essentially. I don't know why I have this issue, but it's an issue that's followed me for like my entire time of being an artist. Is like when I start with the head slightly tilted, for some reason the whole body just like it just goes slanted. If I start with it straight down, it's not too bad. And as someone who's been a digital artist for quite a long time, I'd usually just take that and like, you know, just flip it a little bit, just turn it a little bit. Still feel like it's slightly coming this way, which obviously, I mean, these are just quick sketches, so it's not like it's a big deal, but I did try to draw a line down the center so I wouldn't like go too far to the side, but I think I've still done that anyway. Also, this hand is crazy. I've given her, you know, Disney knees. Have you guys ever heard that term? Like, you know, Demi Lovato from Camp Rock, those kinds of knees. This is real, this is me. And they're just doing like the legs go inwards. That's what it feels like I've done. But yeah, these are just kind of warm-up sketches, I guess. It doesn't look, I think like you're kind of looking at her from like underneath, and I haven't really taken that into account, so that's my bad. For this one, I do feel like the pose itself is not as dramatic as the one in the picture, mostly just because I ran out of space. Let's do this other page with gestures, and then we'll have been pretty warmed up at that point, so then we can probably just go into looking at like the books and how they approach anatomy. I really feel like with these gesture sketches that I could have made them a little bit more fluid. I think one of the things I've struggled with as an artist for quite a long time, apart from anatomy, is that I've never really been good at creating movement or at least in my opinion. I don't think all of my sketches are super stiff, but I think it's something I could definitely improve on. So more over anatomy in this part, I do think the line of actions and like just how much I was emphasizing movement, I think that could be improved on a lot. So maybe that's an idea for a future video. We can try and learn that together at some point. But I did like how these sketches came out a lot more than the previous ones. I feel like the previous ones were definitely a bit of a warm-up. Like I said, if you guys don't know, I've only recently started going back to traditional art, and not having the tools there to like undo or to move things and like highlight them and move them, it was a little intimidating, but I also think it's good because I think I've relied on those tools for far too long. Sketches now take me a very long time because I'm not used to just drawing and doing it right first time and learning how to overcome the mistakes that I was making. Instead, I was just kind of highlighting them and then just fixing it then and there rather than trying again. So I do think they helped, and I'm glad I did them in pen because it allowed me to not focus too much on them as well, because I wasn't particularly happy with any of them. I think the two at the top here I did quite like, and I still quite like. They're probably one of the better ones, but even then I can still see there's a lot of issues. One of the things I did notice when drawing these was that my anatomy looks very 2D, and one thing I've always struggled with as well is shoulders. I don't know why no other artist seems to talk about this, but shoulders are hard. They're so tough to get right. I also decided as well at this point to try a different body style because obviously I'm learning anatomy. I want to ensure that I'm like, learning different body types and not just the same kind of skinny person body type. I do like to make my art as, I want to say inclusive, but it's just like reality. You get people who are curvier and you get people who are skinnier, and that's life, So it's good to learn. And I also did a male pose reference here. Again, probably should have done a couple more of those, but I did one, so progress. We made a little bit of progress. But overall, I think this second page came out a lot better than the first page, but the whole point of this was to warm up, so I'm not gonna complain too much. Okay, so I've done the pen sketches. Yeah, I think I did learn a bit. I think all things considered, for someone who has never really done this before, not the worst. Like I said, it was a bit of a warm up. I definitely think I could do better, but that's why we're gonna take a pencil and we're gonna learn how to do body shapes. Maybe we'll learn some new tips and tricks. I definitely need a more solid way of drawing bodies because I feel like the way I draw bodies right now is just not, it doesn't work very well. I tend to draw my bodies very flat, whereas like if you compare like the way I draw these bodies to the way this is drawn, you can see it's more about creating 3D shapes, whereas I keep it very 2D, and I always have because I've never really learned how to do it with 3D shapes, which is why we're currently doing this challenge. So I really would like to learn how to do this with the 3D shapes to make my drawings look more 3D, to make them look more interesting. And I think a good place to start actually would probably be to maybe copy a couple of these out of this book. I'm gonna take my pencil this time and I'm going to basically copy these, you can't see that, these 3 pictures to learn a more 3D way of drawing the body. I had a lot of fun doing these anatomy sketches. I feel like I saw pretty much an instant upgrade in my anatomy seeing them as shapes, because as you saw previously when I was doing the justice sketches, a lot of what I do for the initial skeleton is like lines and flat shapes. Seeing them as 3D shapes helped so much, and I've always known you're supposed to do that, and I think in my head I was doing that, but looking back I'm like, no, I definitely wasn't, and I definitely wasn't taking advantage of this method as much as I should have been. Even just shading in the underneath of the rib cage to get the impression it's like you're slightly looking up at the character, and even I don't know if it's on this page, but I started to circle the side of the heads as well, so even that looked a bit more 3D, and the joints I made sure that everything was like shaded in, and it helped me so much with the anatomy. One thing I learned here as well was that shoulders should be further down. I've always put them much further up than they need to be, but putting them further down, I noticed an instant change in the anatomy. The shoulders looked instantly better, so I fixed what I've been struggling with all these years. I think I get it now. I've always put shoulders way too high up. They should sit a little bit further down, especially if someone's, you know, relaxed. If they're tense, then they're going to be a bit further up. So this sketch massively helped me, and I actually really enjoyed it. I found it much more enjoyable than the previous way I was doing anatomy. It just felt, I don't know, it just looked better. Even though it wasn't like a finished sketch, it just felt better and it looked better, and I just really enjoyed doing it. Okay, I think I liked that a lot. I think that actually, like, it took obviously a lot longer than it usually would for me to do this, and I'm probably not going to do this whole thing every time, but I think it really did help me to like visualize what like the shapes of the body and stuff, and kind of remind myself like how it would look 3D and not just 2D like how I usually do it, because that's bad. One thing I did forget is there's like put like a little ball behind the foot. I think that's for the heel. Maybe I could like try one from the side too. I don't know, let's just mess around with it and see what we can do. So here, as you'll see, I tried to use the same kind of techniques but with different body shapes. I tried to kind of copy the ones that were in the book, but I don't think it worked out as well as it looks in the book. So I don't know, maybe it's just something to think about. Obviously, I'm still getting used to this new technique. I also tried to do a couple other, you know, like a side view and just kind of playing around with it. I also tried to connect all like the joints and stuff to see how I felt about it when it was all connected. Like you could still see the skeleton underneath it, but I decided to add like the top layer like of the actual like body on top of it to see what it would look like. And there were some areas for improvement, but it was honestly so much easier doing it this way. It was a case of pretty much just connecting the joints, and everything just seemed to come together so much easier than what I'm used to. So I wouldn't even say that probably a better way of doing anatomy. I'd say it's actually an easier way of doing anatomy. I'd still say the poses are a bit awkward in some areas and they're a little stiff, but it's a new technique. It's something I'm gonna have to get used to. And then once I'd finished with those sketches, I decided to go back to just drawing with a pen and using this new technique to see if I can see any difference in these drawings, because I thought it was a little hard to judge doing a sketch in pencil that taking more time with it to a gesture drawing with a pen that's been done really quickly and you can't, like, you know, erase any of it. So I thought the best way to compare it would be to do gesture drawings but with the new technique. And like I said, I found it so much easier than the usual way I do anatomy. I think you can definitely see an improvement pretty much immediately, and I'm pretty happy with it. Oh man, like look at like how I'm connecting up the joints. It just comes together so much easier. And on one of them I did accidentally break her leg, so I did a little bit of a frowny face because I don't know what I was thinking, but in my head it was gonna work out, and then I was like, wait, that's incorrect. I should have done it like the thigh should have been out more, and then I don't know, it just went wrong. And like obviously because it's in pen, I was like, okay, well that's just how it's gonna be, and I just drew a little frowny face next to it because I was so happy with that drawing as well. As I was doing it, I was like, this is looking so good, and then that like ruined it all. But overall it's been a lot easier, and I'm definitely enjoying this process a lot more than what I was with my previous technique. So yeah, all positives, to be honest. I'm really happy with this. It's the next day now. My nails are not looking so good, so let's just ignore them. When looking back at yesterday's sketches, I think even though these aren't perfect, they're my first attempt at trying a new way of doing anatomy. If you look back, I think these ones actually were a lot better. So I'm wondering if maybe I was rushing these a little too much, which could have been the case. But I think when you look back at these ones, especially the first couple, I feel like it looks, first of all, it looks so much more anatomically correct up here by the shoulders, and I feel like even the waist and stuff looks more anatomically correct. You guys gotta say. I'd say like even the feet and stuff and the legs, like it just looks more like, you know, a real human body. I've learned a lot, especially about the shoulders area. I think I've always done shoulders like too far up, so having them down here is just like, it actually has helped a lot just to fix the issues. I do like a couple of these still. I think these two are like really cute still, but I do think when comparison like this first page to like even this page, even though a couple of things did go wrong, I think when you compare them, like this looks a lot better than like these bodies do. It looks a lot more 3D, which is what we want. So I'm very, very happy. Today, I thought it might be a good idea to take our time and to actually use what we've learned and do some proper sketches. We can do like a woman and a man, and we can take our time, do it in pencil, outline it in pen, and like really make it a proper sketch rather than just these quick little pen gesture drawings, which are still good to do. Obviously, that's a good way to learn anatomy, but I think it would be good now to just take our time and really use what we've learned to see if it actually helps with finished pieces. Let's just get straight into it. Okay, so I really wanted to try this technique, but try it properly. I'm not really used to doing pen gesture drawings. It's not something I do very often, and I feel like because of that, none of them were really coming out the way I would have liked. So I thought, let's do some proper pieces. Let's do some sketching, rub them out, and then line them in pen and see what this technique can do for me for like fully finished characters and fully finished pieces of like artwork. I think doing this technique helps me to visualize exactly what the body's gonna look like when I come to do the final sketch, which is what helped me so much with these sketches. I realized previously I was pretty much just going off of a memory and just assuming I knew what things were looking like, and you shouldn't do that. You like and that's probably where I've been going wrong all these years, is not ensuring that the skeleton portion of the sketch is, you know, comprehensive, that I can understand exactly what I'm going to be doing in the next part of the process. These turned out so much better. And like I said, because I had the privilege of a eraser this time, I was able to change the mistakes that I made. So I'm so happy with how these came out. The one that I'm doing now is definitely my favorite. I love how she came out. She's so cute. Do you ever just sometimes draw characters and then you kind of get like little crushes on the characters that you've drawn? Like, you seem like you'd be so cool if you were a real person, and I'd absolutely want to be your friend. Because I get that a lot when I draw characters. I'm like, man, this character's so cool. So I have a little bit of a girl crush on the first character that I drew here. Overall though, like I said, the sketching was so much more pleasant doing it this way. I seriously can't believe how much I've been missing out. I went back on Pinterest for this as well, so I was using like a pose reference, but I still think looking back at it now, there are some things I would change. Like I think like the shoulders on her are a little wonky. Like the one that's closer to us should be a bit bigger than the one that's further away from us. But that's just, once again, me getting used to doing traditional art again. I'm so used to just highlighting things and then moving them like freely and not having to worry about not being able to change things later on, because I've always been able to change things with my digital art. So it's still a bit of a learning curve, but I can't, again, I'm just, I think we're making good progress with anatomy. But I still really enjoy it. I'm still really enjoying doing traditional art again. When it came to inking these characters as well, I decided to kind of go all out with it. I just decided to make them really nice little sketches. So I was kind of shading in the pants and the hair and outlining certain areas thicker where like shadows would be, to give it just a little bit more of a dynamic 3D look. I've been really into doing that recently, where you thicken up some of the line art in some areas where shadows would be. It's just, honestly, it changes your line art so much. It looks so good. I think you can see a huge difference when you compare them to the first sketches I was doing. The anatomy looks so much better. I think I'm still learning it. It's still definitely gonna take a little bit of time to get used to this new way of doing anatomy. It's still, I'm still not doing it perfectly, but that's why we practice. And I think something that will help me in the future as well is because I'm one of those artists where I kind of refuse to look at reference pictures, and I don't know why, because I know it's a good thing, and I know you should do that because that'll help you understand how things should look, and that's how you grow better as an artist. But for some reason, I wouldn't say I've got an aversion to it, because I don't not do it. I don't hate doing it. I've got nothing against doing it. I just don't think to do it, I guess. It's not something that when I do a piece of artwork is to look at a proper reference photo. So I think that would help me a lot in the future, is to look at more reference photos and really deconstruct them, like the anatomy, the perspective, all of that stuff. Honestly though, I think this 48-hour challenge has been really good for me because, like I said at the beginning of this video, I am someone who has avoided truly learning anatomy for such a long time. For me, and I don't think anything's wrong with this, art has always kind of just been like a fun thing I do. And I did have a small business, and I did, when I drew products for my small business, I used to really take my time and energy and care and make sure everything looked perfect for them. But during that time, I never really made much effort to do studies or to really better my art. I just kind of bettered it organically because I was drawing quite a lot. But I think now I'm starting to realize if I want to improve my art better than it's ever been before, I really need to start looking at studies, reading books, looking at reference photos. I need to do, I don't want to say the boring parts, but I'm gonna call it the boring parts, because I feel like learning the human body and learning anatomy when you're an artist isn't always the most fun thing you can do with your art skills, but it does help you improve them. So I do think I need to start dedicating a little bit more time to the quote-unquote boring parts of art like this, because these 48 hours I've noticed such a difference. I don't know if you guys can see much of a difference, but I definitely can. I do feel like going forward my anatomy will be a lot better. I feel like it looks a little bit more 3D now too, so I'm really happy with how this challenge came out. And honestly, if I hadn't have done it as a 48-hour challenge, I really don't think I would have done this at all. I think setting it as a challenge helped me because I'm a procrastinator, and if I don't want to do something, I tend to just not do it. So that's a really bad way to live, but I do think that setting it up as a challenge was great because I was able to spend my weekend really pushing myself to see what I could do, and I think the results speak for themselves. I think they look awesome, don't they? So yeah, here are the final sketches. I'm so happy with them. I don't know about you guys, but I am actually seeing a pretty big difference. It looks better, but I also feel like just doing the anatomy in general, using these shapes was so much easier, and I am actually so happy with these sketches. Like, wow, let's have a look. I mean, it's kind of hard to compare them to the first sketches that I did because obviously they were just gesture drawings. So they weren't really like, I didn't, sketch them out or fix anything that went wrong. I just think even then you can definitely see like the proportions just feel a little bit better. And I feel like they look a little bit more 3D as well. I feel like even things like the shoulders and stuff look better. They just look, obviously there's a couple of little like errors here, like this shoulder's too far up, but I just think it looks overall so much better, and it was so much easier to do. I'm so freaking happy with these. Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie, I think, all things considered, the fact that I only had 84 hours to learn as much as I could about anatomy, I think I did pretty well. You can definitely see a little bit of improvement, or at least I can. I think it definitely helped. But the big thing for me was that drawing the bodies became, I'd say, at least 70% easier. Drawing the shapes out, drawing the cylinders and the joints, because all I was doing was connecting the joints to each other. So when it came from taking it from the skeletal sketch to the actual sketch, it was so much easier. And now I'm just kind of wondering why I didn't bother to learn this sooner, because it actually has made my life 10 times easier than what it was previously. So I guess if you're someone who's been avoiding learning anatomy properly and doing sketches and gesture sketches and just really trying to understand the human body, this is your sign to not be like me. Go learn anatomy properly. Do the research, do the sketches. I'm really happy with this challenge. I think I've learned a lot these past 2 days, and I will definitely be continuing to use those techniques. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, then please subscribe to follow me along on my art journey, and let's grow together as artists. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!